I love behavior. When I started in the IDD field all the way back in 1989 and was first exposed to the concept of behavior support, I felt like I had been granted access to a secret code of human interaction. Discovering names for the pieces and parts of behavior was like finding my own little Rosetta Stone. The world opened up, and I could finally start naming all the weird stuff I had observed in life. I also learned new ways to interact. I raised my children in a very different way moving forward, and we were all better for it. The purpose of the developmental disability field is to teach new skills and to increase independence. Everything we do is to support this outcome. And to the very best of their ability, the individuals we serve point that learning and the increased independence in the direction they want to go. It's a beautiful setup of service, self-discovery, and achievement, all in the name of creating joy, freedom, and opportunity for others. I just love it. Welcome to the Provider Power Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Sherman. This is the place for IDD leaders to find solutions, support, and insight. Ready to power up your provider game? Let's get going. To keep the wheels of these objectives moving, we need to communicate with each other and with the people we serve. As amazing and clear as the entire service delivery configuration is, if you've been around it for more than 20 minutes, you know that things go sideways from time to time. Behavior is communication, and it turns out communication is not easy. Who knew? When I first started in the field, behavior support or behavior management, as it was often called then, was intended to control people, to protect people from themselves and from others, and to create more social appropriateness. I worked in a big institution, and the mindset was that individuals or residents had to demonstrate, quote, readiness in order to leave the institution. They had to reach some imaginary and arbitrary bar for performance before they could advance to the next level of housing unrestrictiveness. Not only was this not true, but what we were doing with that philosophy was actually silencing people. Because we were changing behavior, quieting it, demanding a different kind of behavior, we left people unable to communicate. Supporting behavior has nothing to do with controlling people or prepping individuals with disabilities to earn the right to move to a less restrictive environment. Supporting behavior is all about supporting communication. It's about figuring out that someone's shoestrings are too tight before they start hitting staff in an attempt to beg for relief from the pain. It's about observing the impact of 6 doses of laxatives every day before someone starts biting their hands because they can't take the pain of the continual cramps. It's about observing the roommate picking on someone and taking all their stuff before the victim gets mad at the abuse and starts swinging. All true stories, by the way. And it's about ensuring all staff are responding to individuals in exactly the same way, so that someone's ability to be understood and supported doesn't change based on who is working on a given day. Now we understand the purpose of behavior support plans, or as I like to call them these days, communication support plans. Let's run through what we aren't getting right and ways to correct our shortcomings. Here's a list of 5 issues that I see. 1. A failure to understand that behavior is communication, and it's our job to figure out what someone is telling us. Everything we do to, quote, support behavior is actually to support communication. 2. No clear outcome in that behavior plan. The methodologies to achieve the outcome, regardless of how clear that outcome is, are also unclear. Poor data, poor assessment data, poor implementation data, poor evaluation of the data. That's number 3. Number 4, lack of behavior support expertise. Either there are no behavior support specialists or they're stretched too thin. no expertise to support the behavior specialist, and behavior understanding is limited to just a few people in the organization. And number 5, the focus is on stopping behavior and redirecting it instead of proactively knowing people well enough to understand how they communicate, leaving us constantly reactive, meaning the behavior has already happened and we're trying to smooth things over, versus shifting our focus so that individuals can communicate in a way that does not require they have to resort to harming themselves or someone else. If you are having difficulty with behavior support in your organization, at least one of these 5 issues is probably causing your challenges. So how do we resolve this? Our service planning model is a fantastic place to start. You already know the process well. And if you have a chance to check the show notes, there's a graphic for you that outlines the process. The graphic is a circle with 4 words. At the top of the circle, we have the word assessment. As we move to the 3 o'clock position, the word is plan. As we move to the 6 o'clock position, the word is implement, and in the 9 o'clock position, the word is evaluate. So let's get into our solutioning. Assessment is first. Assessment is always first. Assessment is our baseline data, our incident reports, anything else that we have documented relating to the issue that we're seeing. Every staff person, every frontline staff person, needs to understand that when something different or new happens with an individual that they're supporting, they need to write it down. They need to write down what happened, when it happened, what happened just before the odd thing, and what they did to intervene. And finally, of course, what happened next. This is just a normal expectation, a common practice, and your staff have to be trained to be able to do this. The result is baseline data. Now, as you go along, baseline can get fancier, simpler, change as clarity grows around the issue and you have a clear understanding of what to track. But DSPs and supervisors need to be able to initiate this timely. Once baseline documentation is launched, the rest of the team needs to understand that they are now looking for opportunities to continue that documentation so that none of the juicy, important data is lost. None of the individual's communication is lost. Had staff known to take this action in our shoe incident, it would have only taken a few times to connect the dots that there's a problem with the shoes, instead of the weeks the individual suffered because the detective work took too long. Once we have good baseline, we can plan. Planning is our next step, and it's based on assessment data. Just like the service planning process, this is nothing new. Planning produces our clear outcome and our clear methodology, or implementation steps. Simple, clear, usable. Might you change the outcome and the steps as you go? Sure, absolutely. You don't have to be perfect out of the gate. You have to be clear. Then the plan is implemented. That's our 3rd step again in person-centered planning. And data is collected. The methodology that you wrote in the planning stage includes a definition of the documentation that is to be collected. So the implementation steps contain all of the information that is necessary for staff to correctly execute and for staff to consistently execute. Now it's time to evaluate the data. Here we ask, how's implementation going? Are we moving toward, away from, or standing still as we compare what we see in our data to the identified outcome? Are changes required? Do we need to implement for a longer period of time? Do we need to completely reevaluate? And already we have addressed problems 1 through 4 on our list. Challenge number 5 is all about behavior or communication knowledge in the organization. Behavior specialists are fantastic inventions, but they are not standalone positions. Behavior specialists need access to professionals who can guide their work, provide feedback, offer options and points of consideration. Everyone in your organization who provides or manages services needs to understand how communication and behavior work. If you have the behavior specialist does the behavior and it's not my area, culture going on in your organization, your behavior support plans will fail. The more engaged people are, the better staff know the individuals they serve and how those individuals communicate, the fewer behavior support plans you'll actually need. And of course, proactively having simple, meaningful activities based on an individual's interest and supporting full participation in life, also known as my Bored to Busy blueprint and blitz methods, go a long way to preventing someone from having to go to extremes in order to communicate their wants, needs, and problems. If you're having difficulty with on-point behavior support creation and implementation, use this episode as a checklist to see which pieces are absent or weak in your organization. Apply your fixes and evaluate from there. And of course, I'm always here to help. Give it a go and let me know. I'd love to hear about your challenges and results. Leave a comment or shoot me an email at sarah@providerpowermoves.com. Until next time, power on.